Hi folks, Martin Butler here again. Welcome to part 5 of my 70s and 80s moped and motorcycle series. In this video we're featuring the Fantic Caballero. Now again, not a very popular bike in the UK. The one that was most popular from the Italian company Fantic in this country was the Fantic GT, which was more of a road going bike as opposed to the Caballero, which was basically more of a trailsy off-roady type bike, but still a physically big looking bike, which was an attractive feature for teenagers in the 1970s. So let's pop over and go and see Brent again, and let's look at his unrestored version of the Fantic, and he'll tell you and explain to you a bit more about it. Let's go over there now.
Well, this particular one, it's Fantic Caballero 4-speed. Similar sort of thing that was used over here, but this was an import. It's never been registered in this country, but they look basically the same. They didn't sell too many of these. Fantic, similar to Garelli in a lot of ways, in that they were very Italian built. They were fast engine, but very short-lived. They were a bit of a candle that burned very fast. They started off with the smaller bikes, with the TI and the Super T, but they didn't sell very well because people, at 16, you wanted the biggest bike you could get. And look, this is still a physically big bike today. Even though I'm bigger and fatter and all round a bigger chap than I was in them days, this is still a big bike now. And that's what people wanted. That's what 16-year-olds wanted. You wanted to be able to impress your mates that you had a big bike, be able to pull a bird because you had a motorbike. This was it. You wanted to be the man with a big knobbly tired bruiser like this. So they brought out this one, which was physically bigger. The TIs are down here. It's physically a bigger bike. It goes very well, but again, the same as the Garellis. They were thrashed by 16-year-olds, and they're constantly back in the shops having to have new pistons and piston rings.
What's the capabilities of this engine, I mean?
Just slightly slower than the Garelli, but the beauty of this engine is they're eminently tunable, and you can really make these fly if you want. Especially the 6-speed one. They did a 6-speed one that they put in this as well, and they put it in the Fantic chopper and in the Super T, and that 6-speed engine could really fly. The problem with them was with the early iron barreled ones, of which this is one, that they'd run great for about 20 mile flat out, and then after that they would go explode big time. So unless you're a bit more relaxed with your throttle, they would blow up on you.
I mean, this one obviously, as I say, is in original condition. It hasn't been restored. Is it
No.
a road going bike or?
Yeah, it is a road going bike. It's got the old lights on the front and back, and it would restore up and be a decent bike to go on moped runs on this. Probably worth only about 600 quid, but for 600 quid you've got a bike that's running, ready to go, and just wants tweaking for the MOT really. So, I mean, people get too much into returning bikes to concours condition. Yeah, it's great. I've done it myself. I'm as guilty as everybody else. But sometimes it's nice just to have a bike that's, you know, a bit tatty around the edges. You don't kind of using it if it's raining or snowing. You're not bothered, and you just get on it. Use it when you want to nip down the shops. And I had one of these last year. Well, I had a Fantic GT the other year, and I used that for a couple of years just for running round on general errands, and it was great. And I never worried about it getting wet because it was already rusty. So this would be a good bike to do that on, I reckon.
So with regards to, again, sourcing parts, you haven't really gone down the avenues of looking at restoring this then, to be honest with you?
No, I don't think I'll look at restoring this one, but it's not a problem if you did. Because the wheel rims you can get from anywhere, spokes you can get anywhere, so you can get your wheel rims redone. Paint you can get done, seats you can have recovered. You know, this would all re-chrome up, this would re-chrome, the frame would be nice if it was powder coated. You can do anything. You can rebuild anything. Nothing is impossible, and no matter what parts you think, oh God, I'll never get this, if you start restoring one, you'll usually finish it.
I've actually never seen one of these before. I mean, when I was, as I say, 16, I think the one that people used to go for, definitely where I used to live, was the Fantic, the GT model.
Yeah.
I mean, how did this differ from the GT, for example?
The GT had the slightly later engine in it, had the alloy barrel, the aluminium engine, so the engine on them was actually better, in that it was more reliable, and again they were eminently tunable as well. They could really be made to fly. So they were a good bike. The GT, very similar to this, just a slightly different tank, road going tyres. The GT was the record version of the Tiger, whereas this is like the equivalent of the Garelli Tiger. This was the trail bike type. GT sold quite well, but this was the one that a lot of people wanted because it looked so big.
Well, let's see how this thing starts up then, Brent.
Okay then, fresh from the shed, 5-year-old petrol. Let's have a look. Petrol on, handlebar mounted choke, bit of a refinement for them days. Give her a kick, see if she'll go.
I mean, that sounds quite throaty.
Yeah, it does sound a bit. I'm not sure if all the baffles are in that exhaust. Yeah, I think it'd still get through the MOT though, but yeah, they're a nice little bike.
It's amazing to say your collection has been sitting in your garage for so many years, and yet, I mean, do you obviously start them up now and again? Or?
Yeah, well actually I've sold a lot of my bikes now. I had 3 times this amount at one time, but I sold a lot of the restored ones. I've hung on to my Pirelli Tiger Mark II, which is the same as I had when I was 16, and I use that all the time. That's constantly taxed and tested. If it's dry, I'll go out on it. If it looks cloudy, I'll still go out on it. I mean, I restored that Tiger 12, 13 years ago, and I've used it ever since, and it still looks in good condition. It's still nice and tidy. So, yeah, I've still got 1 or 2. I'm hanging on to 1 or 2 of them. Oh, this, yeah, the bumper book of sports mopeds and bikes up to 250 from the 70s. Buy now while stocks last. A few stories of restorations on Pirellis I've done. It's basically all the 50cc's that we had at the time. FS1E, Honda SS50, Fantic Chopper. And then I did all the up to 250s as well. I did the Honda 125s, 250s, RDs, all that kind of stuff. It was just a bit of fun really, and eventually brought it out as a book, so there you go.
Is that bikes you've worked on yourself? Is it your own personal?
Yeah, there's some stories in there of restorations of our restored, a couple of Pirelli records and blow-by-blow accounts of me fighting with spanners and hammers while I was doing my Pirelli Tiger up and re-chroming bits and bobs, and because I have no mechanical skills at all, so I tell the story as a complete incompetent that I am. But even it's just a matter of patience. As long as you just keep plugging away at it, you'll restore a moped. If I can do it, trust me, anybody can.
Right, so in 1972 then, Brent, I mean, what were the government expecting us to write about them?
Well, I think this is a typical example, Martin. Pirelli step-through. I had a Mobilette step-through, very similar to this. 25, 30 mile an hour. Good, reliable little tool, get you to work and back, but not exactly what the 16-year-olds wanted at the time. I had one of these and it was great, until I saw a Pirelli, then I wanted a Pirelli Tiger. Right, let's give her a start. Turn the petrol on. Another kick. Powerful beast. A little spin around on this one now. Not very powerful. You didn't want one of these at 16.
I had one.
I had one, yeah, which was great.
Right, Brent, so we've obviously seen your collection now. I mean, what seems to be the attraction of these bikes to you?
I guess it's instant nostalgia, Martin. It takes you back to a time when you were 16, when all you were worried about was going down a chip shop, down a youth club, trying to pull some bird somewhere. I've got modern bike as well. I've got a super bike and I've got old British bikes as well, but keep coming back time after time. The most fun I ever had in my life was on a Pirelli Tiger, and I reckon I still am now. And I think those guys in the moped club, some people might think we're sad, but I reckon we're just the oldest swingers in town.
Well, there you go. That was the Fantic Caballero. Again, not a popular bike in the 1970s. Very similar to the Pirelli in many ways, but being an Italian moped, quite rare now, and also a little bit fragile as well, and parts are pretty much hard to come by as well. We'll see you again in part 6, and if you do like these videos, please do rate, comment and subscribe. Anyway, thanks very much, and bye for now.